Life began for her on Peter Street, but soon moved to Fort Fincastle, Nassau, Bahamas, where she lived until she was 15 years of age. During a time when the water tower actually supplied water to the island of New Providence, when the jailhouse was across the street from her neighborhood in Fort Fincastle, when Bahamian moms made homemade bread to share with their neighbors, when children finished school at 14 years of age, and when a move to Coconut Grove in New Providence was a move to the suburbs. An era when children were taught respect for their elders, respect for each other, discipline and hard work, and taught never to beg, borrow, or steal. The second of 4 living children to Edward and Edith Miller of Acklins, she taught typing and shorthand. She was a trained nurse. She worked in the straw market for 43 years and was the secretary of the Straw Vendors Association for 30 years, and then became the secretary of the Straw Vendors Handicraft Association. In this episode of Bahamian Heritage Series, she tells a bit of her story and even gives some advice for all of us. 82-year-old Hazel Loveta Miller-Davis, born July 16, 1941.
My name is Hazel Miller. I was married to a Davis, and then my date of birth is July the 16th, 1941. Hazel Lovita, Lovita, July 16th, 1941. I was born right here in Nassau. I can't remember whether it was Peter Street East or West, but I grew up on Fort Fincastle as a little girl. We lived on Fort Fincastle until I was 15. My parents, my father's name was Edward Miller, and my mother's name was Edith Miller. They were both from Acklins.
Oh, Miller's from Acklins, both of them. Okay. Do you have any recollection of your grandparents?
No, I have.
Do you know their names?
Well, I have. I recall of my mother's father, but that's not her real father. He grew her up. He was married to her aunt. And when they got married, they took her in to live with them because she was a little girl.
Okay.
And she stayed there with them, and she became the eldest sister for all of his children.
Oh, okay.
Their children.
So what about your mother's parents? Did you know them?
No, I knew their half sisters and brothers, but I didn't know. I mean, her real sisters and brothers, but I didn't know her daddy and mommy.
Okay. You said you grew up you were born in Peter Street, but you grew up in Fort
Fincastle, yeah.
Okay, so that was where you moved to?
Yeah.
How many children did your parents have?
They had 4.
What were their names?
My eldest sister was Kavita. She was born in Acklins.
Okay.
And then they came to Nassau. She was 2 years old. And then I was the next. Well, there was a boy between my sister and I, but he died at birth, right? Then I was the second, the other one, the second one, and then I had another sister, and then I have a brother. Now, living, it's only my brother and I.
Okay, so it's just 2 of you left. How old were you when you left Peter Street? Probably too young to know.
I don't remember that, but I know my mother told me that I was born in Peter Street. I never knew that.
Okay.
But I can remember, like from around 4 or 5 at Fort Fincastle, but I was smaller than that.
So you stayed in Fort Fincastle most of your young life?
Until I was 15.
Okay. Do you remember anything at all about living there? Do you remember what the house looked like?
Oh yeah. That was our stomping ground. Fort Fincastle, and I can remember all the neighbors, almost everybody in Fort Fincastle, from East Street, back to 66 Step, and then to Mason's Addition,
Wow.
and up on the fort. I remember all
The Burnsides, you lived at right? Yes, okay.
Burnsides, and then Randall Fox, because they lived Burnside and Randall Fox, they were in-laws. I knew when they moved there, they met us there.
Okay.
You know, I basically know all the people who were there.
Did you remember what the house looked like? Can you describe it that you lived in?
Yes, it was I believe that was stucco, but then I didn't know stucco, you know, but it was a stone house, right? And it had a cellar underneath.
Okay.
It was up on high pillars. And we used to play under there for the dollhouse. And it was 1, 2, 3, 4 houses in the yard. And we used to play under the cellar. All the children in that yard used to come under the cellar and play. You know, we used to play. And then my mother used to bake bread on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And every neighbor in the yard, she gave them, those who had children, she gave them a loaf.
Right.
And who didn't have any children, she gave them a half a loaf.
Okay.
And so...
That was a ritual. I know that bread tasted good too, eh? And you all look forward to it, right?
Homemade bread.
Yes.
And from then I know what it is to bake bread for children, you know.
Can you think of any other good memories that happened on the Fort Hill? Like, what were some of the things that you all did? Other than play with children, was there any activities that they had on a regular basis?
Well, we used to go, the water tower was right there, right? We used to go, and we could go up the hill from our house. It wasn't far, it was just a rise and to go up on the fort. And we used to go there and play ball. And then we used to shoot marbles in our own yard.
Yes, okay.
So, but we used to play balls, and then when the tourists start coming around, you know, children seeing all these white people coming in, we just to be looking, and then there used to be children who were, I don't know why they did it, but then they used to go there and then like begging the tourists. And I had a cousin one time, she went, right? And when she came back and I saw her, she said she had plenty of money, you know, the little 5 cent and quarters and things. And so I told Mom, I said, boy, I say, Big Shirley them going up there, they get plenty of money. Mama said, if I catch you all up there, she said, I'll kill you. And one day I went, and when I came back, my elder sister told my mother that I went. And my mother said, you ever see me begging anybody? You know?
Yeah, she didn't want that.
Boy, and listen here, did she wail me? And from then...
So tell me something, the water tower, when I grew up, that was more like a tourist destination. What was it, in your day, it actually did distribute water, right? Like it was the...
Yeah, they said that was the water to circulate for the, you know.
Yes, so it was actually...
That was the water pump.
For that area. In fact, for most of Nassau back then, because I guess...
That was that service to Nassau.
Right. So you never really, back in those days, they didn't have it as a tourist destination where people go up to the top and look down.
No, but we were able to go, as the natives could go, like a couple of us, you know, we went up there. A man named Mr. Cambridge, he used to be the caretaker of that. And I think his daughter was Mina Habbo, I don't know, you should know her. She died afterwards as a woman.
Okay.
She used to teach, I think. But anyhow, and we went up. They had it was an elevator, the same carrier right up. We used to call it the carriage, and it take you right up to the top. And the first time I only went up once because I was scared. You know.
That was tall.
Yeah, he gave us a treat just to, carry us and show. And when we reach the top, you look round and see all of Nassau.
Yes. Yeah, that was a beautiful sight. I'm so sorry they let that go because it was nice.
Yeah, it was. It was a tourist attraction. Plus, for the natives, it was someplace
Right.
and it was educational too. Okay. There was the school I went to. We used to call it Science School. Now you know where the Tribune is. I think government has it's through the corner.
Yes.
You know where I mean?
Yes.
That was Science School.
Okay.
That's the school I went to.
I remember that. I mean, it's still there, but they use something else now. Yes.
And the head mistress was Mrs. Olive Hanna. She had a sister by the name of Mrs. Dyer, who was at the Princess Margaret Hospital in the pharmacy.
Yes. Okay.
Well, Miss Hanna was the head mistress, and Mrs. Barrett was the other teacher.
Okay.
Now, only those two I remember.
So you all went to school there? You all went to school there?
Yeah.
The four siblings?
The children in my age, then we went to school there. And then after that, they built Southern Junior. But it was Southern Senior because it was just one building. And that was where Mr. Sawyer was the headmaster. And then Carlton Francis and Mrs. Blatch and Mr. Bain and all of those teachers were there.
The home that you lived in Fort Fincastle, is that building still there?
No, we passed there and I see the ground was flat. But we rented that house.
Okay.
That house belonged to a lady by the name of Mrs. Lyons. She had a house on the corner of Lewis Street and Market Street. And I don't know if you know Philip and Marcia Lyons. I don't know if Marcia, but I think she was a fountain, I'm not sure.
Okay, his name sounds familiar.
She had a brother named Philip. But you know where the palm tree was? You don't know about the palm tree?
Yes, it was a restaurant, right? They sell burgers.
Right.
Everybody talked about their burgers.
The palm tree had the sweetest burgers in the world.
Yes.
Mr. Russell and those.
Yes, so that was there from you were young? Okay. I mean, I know about it.
It opened up afterwards when I went to Western Senior. But that was there for a long time.
So what type of work did your parents do? Did your mother work?
My mother didn't work.
She was a homemaker.
My mother didn't work until my brother. When she had my brother, he was 6 months old. And then she started to work then. But there's in between that I want to say is that my father had, 66 step. And then nearby, about, say, not even 5 minutes walk. You know Dr. Wavell Thompson? Well, his parents, they had a 2-story house. They moved there and they lived in this 2-story house. Downstairs they had a shop vacancy there. That was their basement. And my father rented the place from them. And he opened a grocery store there. And that was the only grocery store on Fort Fincastle.
Oh, wow. So your father owned a grocery store?
And then after that, well, you know how people are. They see you do this, and so they come right next door to do. But another man by the name of Mr. Strawn, he opened a shop around the corner from us. It wasn't much, but it wasn't as big as ours. And then on the end of the corner, of East Street, and going up to go up on Fort Fincastle, there was a Greek man who came and he opened a store right on the corner, opposite the barracks.
Okay.
The barracks there where the policemen are now, that was the prison.
Oh, okay. So
That was
a
the prison.
prison.
On Sunday morning, when the prisoners wake up and they sing in their devotion, my mother used to say, here the prisoners singing, now we getting ready for church.
So the prisoners was right near where you live?
Right there, right there. We used to hear them singing every Sunday morning. And
Did you have a lot of crime back in those days?
Well, it wasn't much crime. There was one man, his name was Joseph Monks. They used to call him Joe Monks. He was as far as I know, he was the only man who used to steal. You know, everybody say, better don't put that out there, Joe Monks coming, you know.
Yeah.
But he was the main criminal around there. Other than that, people never bothered you. And let me tell you one thing I could safely say. The young people had manners. Manners.
Yes, respect for authority.
Not manners,
And
you hear
adults,
me?
yes.
The neighbors in our yard, we had about 2 elderly people. And my mother said to me, one of them name is Curtis, and she used to call me and ask me to come go to the shop for her, up to my daddy's shop. And my mother said, now, when Miss Curtis asks you to go to the shop, don't you take nothing from Miss Curtis, you know? And like people used to give you 1 penny or something like that. She said, you don't do that. She said, you want God bless you, don't take no money from nobody. And we grew up like that. But another thing I want to say to you, I really wish our Bahamian people could hear this.
They can hear it.
Listen.
Yes.
My daddy had a shop. And when my sister got a certain age, she used to go up to my daddy when school out to help him, you know. And my mother used to put these big plats in our hair. You know, that we parted in 4, 2 here and 2 there. And my sister, my daddy, what we used to call, my daddy never used to give my mommy money. You know, because money wasn't like that. It wasn't like, you know, that it was that the man wait for the money and take care of the house, but like, you know, but we used to say, Daddy, mean. But I will tell you now, when I got to the place at a certain age, I realized what he was doing, but he might have done it different from, you know. But anyway, he never used to give her money like that because she stayed home, you know. And then she never used to shop and think, you know, then all the groceries come from our shop, so we didn't have anything.
Right.
And Christmas time, my daddy would buy us, you get a pair of shoe, new pair of shoe, and a pair of tennis. The tennis was to go to school in, and the shoe was to go to church in.
Yeah.
My daddy was a pastor, a man who preached. He was the pastor of Mount Carmel Baptist Church through Mason's Addition.
Okay, all right.
And when my mother had, my sister would go up to the shop. They have Daddy in the evening, and after she knew she's getting big now, and she see Daddy don't give Mama no money. So she used to take the money out of the drawer and put it in her hair for my mother. And
This the drawer in the shop? Which drawer?
the drawer in the shop,
okay.
you know, when she sell, she'd take out something and carry it for my mother. And then I started going. And when I see what she did, I take it and put it in my ear too. And so when I reach home, the 2 of us reach home that evening, my mother said, you all come here. So we went in the room. She said, sit right down here on the bed. I really wish Bahamian parents could hear this. She said, sit right here on the bed. And we sat on the bed. She said, now listen to me. When you all go up to that shop, and you all sell, my mother, daddy was Edward, and you all sell Edward things. She said, don't put 1 cent in your here and bring it here for me. She said, you know what that is? That's thieving.
Yes, that's what it is.
You hear what I say?
Yes.
She said, that's thieving. And that's wrong. If you got a seal from your daddy, take something from your daddy, you're thieving. She said, when you start stealing when you're small, you can get big and still stealing. So don't thief nothing from nobody. She said, that's Edward money. And if Edward don't give me nothing, don't worry about me. God can take care of me.
Yes.
You hear what I say? And she said, so don't bring another cent here and don't take nothing from him. And my daddy, he didn't know, she didn't tell him. But that stuck with me to this day.
That's how you have to bring children up.
See my daughter there?
Yes.
You know what she said? My mother said, listen here, don't beg,
And
don't borrow,
and don't steal.
and don't steal. She said, if you beg, people see you coming begging, they can say they tired of you. You borrow, you might not be able to pay it back. And if you thief, you got to be looking over your shoulder all the time.
My God.
And from that day to this, see my children, my daughter there, let her tell you.
And you taught them the same thing, hey?
The same thing. I tell them, it ain't yours, it ain't yours.
Yes.
I say, anything you want, you work for it. You hear me? I work so hard until all the cartilage in my arms. I work in the straw market for 43 years.
Wow.
Pulling raffia every day. And now the cartilage gone in my 2 arms and all my shoulders done stripper. But I work.
In the straw market, that's when the straw market was on Bay Street opposite the House of Assembly.
Yeah.
The store. What were the kinds of things that he sold in the food store?
Grocery.
Like,
Groceries.
was there refrigeration back then? Like,
No, my daddy didn't have a refrigerator. He had an ice box. You know, and they used to, Milo Butler used to come around with his truck and his boys, Frankie and those. You hear me? And they used to buy the big block of ice.
okay.
And he'll buy the ice and put it in the bottom of the ice box. And that cool the sausage, the Baldona sausage and stuff like that, you know?
So that coolness lasts long.
Well, they get ice every day.
Okay.
They used to come around every morning with you buy a block of ice, you know?
Okay.
And he'd go around on the truck and his boys serve you. And they had this big thing, but they hold the ice with.
Yeah. So how big was the block?
Good size, yeah.
So they would put it inside something?
They keep it in the ice boxes. The ice box had a tin on it until he got an old fridge, you know.
Okay. So he would sell all the regular stuff, milk and
Everything.
Okay. His things was
Now, you never, and to get milk, we had the bottles of milk that you get at school.
from
There was a milk stand
Okay.
on the corner of Mason's Addition and East Street. That building is still there today.
They sell. It's like you could buy, must be snacks or chicken.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, that was the milk stand. And that's where we got milk from. Then Mortimer came there and they opened up selling peanuts and
Snowball.
popcorn. Well, the popcorn came later, but mostly was the peanuts. And then they started making the candies. I remember Amos Ferguson was running the candy kitchen. He was the boss in there because he made them, you know. But all of Western Mortimer and Lester Mortimer and all of them, they grew up in there. But when they came on to Fort Fincastle, they met us there.
So you all were there, one of the first set to come.
Yeah, all of the Francis, I don't know if you know those, Melcher Francis, and one just died, Chris.
They were there as well.
They came there after us.
Okay.
And then Lawyer Fox and all of those, they came there after us. And then Calliope, the McSweeney's and the Bethels, and then Mr. Gibson, the teacher. All of them, came and...
So that was a big, fairly large community for those days.
Yeah. And there was one midwife down in Mason's Addition, to Lockhart's.
So was the hospital right there where it is now then?
No, that up on the top there was the Crazy Hill. He used to call it the Crazy Hill.
Oh, that's where it was before it went to something. Okay.
That was the Crazy Hill. The hospital wasn't there. There was one hospital, Prospect Ridge. One hospital. That was the hospital there. That was the RAFs used to be there. And then they turned it into hospital. They used to call it the Bahamas General Hospital. And then they built up there. But up there, they only used to have the dump trucks come in, and they used to sell carbolic there for the toilets and stuff. My father worked there as the gatekeeper, and he used to check in the garbage trucks and serve the carbolic and everything, And then they built the PMH there,
Your father had a lot of jobs. He did a lot of things.
My daddy was as far as I could remember, he worked there for a long time. He worked at the hospital gate. He used to open the gate, and then when to go on the Crazy Hill, he was the one to when the ambulance and stuff came there, he was the one who opened the gate and closed, and he had to, he was anyhow the gatekeeper.
That's interesting. And so did he have a store at that same time?
No.
Okay, so he got the store afterwards?
Afterwards.
Okay.
No, he got the store before that.
Oh, before.
He got the store before that. Then he worked at the hospital when he gave up the store.
So after you finished school, what school did you actually leave from finally? The last school?
Oh, okay. My last school was Western Senior. What happened? T.G. Glover, he used to live on Fort Fincastle too. He came up there to live. And he became friends with my father. Now when you reach age 14, you had to leave school then.
Wow.
At the age of 14. And I went from Science School, I went to Western Junior School, where Mr. Gibson was the headmaster. Timothy Gibson. And from there, after they built Southern Junior, which was closer to where we lived, my father, but we moved down from Fort Fincastle. My daddy had saved his money, and he bought 2 lots in the Grove, this new area that was off from Wolf Road now. Because remember, Wolf Road was the end.
Right, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And then you could go down as far as Robinson Road, but it was only a road track out for the dump. And then people started buying property down there, and one houses came building. And my daddy bought 2 lots on Palm Tree Avenue on 8th Street. Now from Andrews Avenue back to Robinson Road was bush, was lawn bushes. Afterwards, Sir Roland Simonette came, and he got his tractors, and they cut out roads. You hear me? And then we found out that there was a man his name was Mr. Lowe, a little conqueror man, white man. He came down and he told my father, talked to my father and let them know that he would buy the rocks if we could put them in loads. And he told my daddy how big he wanted the rocks. Now they wanted crack rocks. It wasn't a machine then making crack rocks. So what we used to do, my daddy used to do, he said he would pay you £1, 4 shillings for a load like that. And so my daddy used to take us, not many people did it, Only my daddy did it. And I don't remember seeing nobody else. I don't remember nobody else doing it. But my daddy used to have us in the night before we go to bed. Like when he come home from work and we done eat and everything, we take out back the boxes or a bucket, and he would tote rocks, tote the stones, and bring them home and make a heap to the end of the road. But then you had to make it, so what we had to do, when we come from school, we would take the hammer or a little maul and crack them to the size that he wanted. And each one of us would make a heap like that, you know, and you would get £1 for 1 pound, 4 shillings for each heap. And that is how my daddy paid. And then he used to go in the day, and because he had stopped with the shop was finished, we weren't there anymore. And so he would sell fish. He had a bicycle, and he had a box made up with the cover, and he would ride his bike and sell his fish, and he had his customers.
Okay. So where did he get the fish from?
He buy them from the market. The market was then down there by where the straw market is now. All of that was fish market, and then the slaughterhouse for the pigs and all that. And then we used to grow hogs in our yard. Big rock. We used to ride the hog where it was so big.
Wow.
But my daddy used to, when he killed us, when they go to the slaughterhouse and get the hogs killed, he got orders from the hospital. He supplied a hospital with pork.
Okay.
You hear me? My daddy was a
entrepreneur.
I'm telling you. And this is where his children, all his children were taught how to work hard, you know, because he never did nothing by himself and didn't include his family. Everybody did the same thing, you know. And so the only one who really got away with anything was my brother. He didn't work like us, because he was the baby, you know. But anyway, this is how we really made it. So when he bought the lots, he didn't buy one, he bought 2 in 1. Because he said he had children, he didn't want nobody right up underneath him with his children. And so he bought 2 lots, and then he built the house. He built it. Well, it was a stucco house. I don't know if you know what stucco is.
I know what it is, yeah.
Well, he did that, and that was where we live in the Grove.
So you moved from Fort Fincastle
In
down
the
to the
Grove.
Grove, right?
And when my mother saw that, she said, "Edward, what you bring me down here for? This ain't nowhere to bring nobody to live here. Nobody lived down here." But it was like one house there and one, you know, the houses were so far apart. And anyway, when we moved down there, it was good, you know, because then
That was like being in the suburbs.
You had your own house.
On space.
Yeah. And so we lived there. And what my daddy did afterwards, we had the big house we lived in. And my daddy built 3 wooden houses on the property, and he had them on rent. So when I look at it, I say, I see why my daddy was tight, because he didn't let my mother know what he was doing.
Yes, he invested, he made use of that money rather than waste it. He had a plan.
He didn't talk what he was dreaming, but he did it. And today I say, I see what my daddy was doing.
Yeah, he was a good man. He was trying to make a future and a life for his
family. Yeah.
Oh, if he could only have more men like that.
I'm telling you, he never. And listen here, when you see he come home in the evening from selling his fish, he would eat and rest. And when you see 6 o'clock, you hear him say, he calling everybody name. Hazy, that's me. You ready? You know? Or get your bucket, you know. My sister Kami, she was the eldest one. Get your bucket, everybody. But my daddy taught us how, and my mother taught us how to work. Because when she go to work, after my brother was 6 months old, living on the Fort Hill, 6 months old, she got a job at the PMH in the laundry. And she worked there for 21 years.
Wow.
And she became a diabetic and she died. And she used to bake bread, fry the pancake, knead it, and then fry it and carry one for her. And she'd carry one to share with the ladies in the laundry.
Right.
They used to call her Oldie.
Oldie.
Her name was Edith, you see. Oldie, you bit of bread. Every morning she had to make bread to carry for them because they wanted to eat, you know.
So you said they made you leave school when you was 14?
Yeah.
So what happened after, when you left, what did you do?
Okay, let me tell you what happened. At the age of 14, I was at Southern Senior. And Mr. Glover was the headmaster of Western Senior. And him and my daddy became friends. And so Daddy, he was talking with Daddy and tell Daddy, you know, I finished. So Mr. Glover say, she get a low leaving certificate because that was something. So my daddy say, no, she didn't get it. So he say, well, let her come down to Western Senior. I'll find room for her. I'll put her in and let her stay a year and another year in school and sit for her leaving certificate. And I went down there, my daddy carried me and I went down there. And I stayed, because when you reach grade 6, you had to reach grade 6 at the age of 14, and then you leave. But I went to Western Senior, and I had another year of grade 6.
Okay.
Because he told me I could come. And Miss Tynes, H-U-T, Hester Tynes was my teacher in grade 6. You know Craig Flowers? Craig and I was in grade 6 together.
Okay.
Craig and I, and Craig was, I think, just died last week or sometime. Anyway, I think his name was Arnold. Anyway, we had I have a lot of friends I had then, you know. People I knew, and then a girl named Diana. She used to live somewhere on Meeting Street there. But I had a lot of friends that I made, you know, at school. But I never keep company like that because my mother always say to us, it's 4 of y'all, and that's enough company.
She's a smart woman.
4 of y'all, yeah. And I taught my children the same way. You notice my daughter, she don't never, anywhere she going, she come for me. She never have company lagging on her, you know. But I went to Southern Senior, to Western Senior then. And I stayed there and I got we call it the school leaving certificate. And then I left school, and after that, I went to Nassau School of Music. Mr. W.A.G. Bain was right on the corner by St. Agnes there. I don't know if you know where that is. They're not there now, but it's a 2-story building there. St. Agnes School is over here, and then on the corner of Blue Street, going for Blue Hill Road, Mr. Bain was there.
Oh, he was right
and he
on.
taught music, but he also taught typing and shorthand.
Okay.
And my daddy sent me there, and I did typing and shorthand there. I did speed writing for the typing and grade shorthand.
I remember them shorthand.
Okay. And then from there, Mr. Bain got me a job with Lawyer Swing because I became like the top young lady, and a lady there was, she was a young woman, May Smith. Yeah, May. And Mr. Bain got me the job to Lawyer Swing. But when I went to him, He was in his pajamas and his duster, this house coat or whatever dress. And he looked, but I was in a different building. His house, you know where his house is? In the pond. You know where Milo Butler funeral home is? Mm-hmm. Right up in that area, right up in there.
Okay.
Lawyer Swain used to live there. And that's where I had to go to work. When I went up there, I had to run and leave one day. Because I found he just go out his head. And when he made at me that day, I had to break off running.
Wow.
And I running straight down to Mr. Bain, and I told Mr. Bain, I can't wait till this man crazy. And I never went back. And so that was that era finished, you know. But I taught typing and Greg shorthand for a while to Mr. Bain's school because he was still doing the music. And then I was in the typing part and I would help him, you know. And after that, I didn't bother with it, you know.
That's with them old time typewriters.
Yeah. And so that was a part of it, but God is good.
So when you finished, how did you get to the straw market?
Let me tell you. Okay. What happened is, when I finished typing and all that, what happened, I was in school to Mr. Bain, and then I went in for nursing.
Okay.
I was a nurse for 8 years.
Interesting, okay.
What happened is, I went to nursing and I did with Sister Bowen and Sister Smith and Blakewell, they were all matrons.
Okay.
Bowen was a Bahamian woman. She was the last one who I worked under. But the first one was Sister Bakewell. She was a white woman from England. And then Sister Joan Smith, she was from England also. But they were ahead of Sister Bowen. When I left, Sister Bowen was there. I trained the PMH.
By then they had moved.
Then they had already built PMH.
Okay.
But then they sent us some to Sandilands and some to Prospect. Because Prospect Hospital was where the TB ward was and the geriatrics.
Okay.
But that was a building, they were getting ready to get it because it leaked a lot. And then after that, I got married.
So how many children did you have?
I have 2 living children. I had 2 living children. My son died in 2013, only Didi one now.
So when did you go to the straw market?
And I think it was in 69. Anyhow, I was there for 43 years. I left in 2009.
Wow, you was there for how long?
42 years.
Wow. So that was the career that you did the longest. It was quite lucrative out there.
Yeah. We did our own work.
It was real Bahamian handcraft.
The Bahamian people in Nassau, and they're now, some of them can't even write Nassau. We had 2 friends who had a stall in there, you know? And they taught me how to do the straw work. Just friends, and I used to go and talk with them, or they come by me and they'd bring their bags to work, and so they say, Hazel, learn how to do this. So you could work for yourself. And I never regret it. I taught all my children to do straw work. Didi grew up with me doing straw work. Then she go to work, to school. She'd come back in the evening. She had to come in the market to sell. And my son, the same way. One Sunday, I used to go out on Sundays. And then I started taking stock of my life, I said, now Lord, if you could work it out for me. Because my husband and I were separated then. And then I had Didi. And so I said, now Lord, if you help me, I say, I ain't going out in the market no more on Sundays. I said, I can really serve you. And this Sunday I sent him out, my son, he was only maybe about 12 or so. When I sent him out there, he came home that Sunday evening. Mommy, I made plenty money. I say, yeah, put it there. Say, no, Mommy, come count this. And when I counted it, $900 he made that Sunday.
Wow.
And I say, Lord, you're so good to me. But I'd say, you know what, I made a promise. And from then, every Sunday morning, I take my children to church. I put them in Sunday school and I go in my class. And when church, I stay right there. I used to go to, I was christened in St. John, St. John's Baptist Church. But my sister started to go to Golden Gates with Ross Davis. And they had a revival there. And she asked me, say, why don't you go with me tonight? We having revival. And I went with her. That Monday night, this Pastor Smith from Guyana. And I went that Monday night. And then after that, after the revival finished, I went to church Sunday. And I went, they used to start church 7:30. And I went 7:30. And I didn't go. I started to go to St. John like once, like about 2 or 3 Sundays. Like I say, on Saturdays was our day to wash our clothes for school on Monday, and then we had to get on our knees and scrub the floors. You had the wires to scrub the floor with, the little wire.
Yes.
And sometimes you get cat boil on your knees, the little boils. I don't know if you ever hear about that. But anyway, I just want to say how our parents taught us how to work. Work today. The children, you see your children, you struggle. And it grieves me. I always tell Didi, today you see the parents, they struggling, the set who working, struggling. They know their children don't work, they send them away to school, or they finish school here, they sitting down, they'll come back home, bring all kind of things, expensive things, and you know they're working, and you are accepting them. How could you sit down as a parent, knowing your child don't work and getting all this money and bring, and you know what? You're gonna regret it. That's why you have so much crime in the country. The young people wasn't taught how to have manners and respect for older people and to respect people's things.
Yes.
It's not yours. If you didn't work for it, don't bother with it. And then on the top of that, Bahamian people get so lazy now, they don't want work.
Sad.
It's sad. We don't have no more Bahamas, you know. Sweetie pie, let me tell you something. I want you to look at me and listen to me. The Bahamas, the handwriting is on the wall for the Bahamas. You hear me? Watch for the next election. I worked as a nurse in the hospital for 8 years, and you know how much I used to get a month? £8, 2 shillings and 4 pence for a month. Try to figure, I don't know how much that is in dollars now, but and they raise it to that. You understand me? They raise it to that. You wasn't even getting that much. I worked. I tell you, I work until my arms are gone. Now I need somebody to care for me. These people don't want work, and they don't want your children. They want the children ain't working, but they see the children coming home with all kind of money, and this and the next thing. This one get car, you don't know where they get it from. You sit up in it, they build a house for you. How they could do it and they ain't working? And every minute somebody dying on the street, on the wall for the Bahamas. You hear me? It's hard to say it, but it's the truth. You know why? Because we're taking it and selling it for a pot of porridge. Remember Jacob and Esau? A pot of porridge. You put them in the office, they're doing all kind of things. Everybody's selling this, selling that. Next one thing you look, plane coming with this one. Everybody got work permit. Where they get it from? Huh? But I tell you, the handwriting is on the wall for the Bahamas. I may be dead and gone, but it's there.
On September 22, 2016, Mrs. Hazel Miller-Davis was honored at the 4th Annual Straw Vendors, Straw Practitioners, and Wood Carvers Appreciation and Recognition Ceremony. She crafted and made her own creation of straw products. She'd been in the industry for some 43 years. A life of discipline, hard work, which resulted in success and a family to be proud of, Mrs. Hazel Miller-Davis continues to admonish Bahamians to be honest, decent, hard-working citizens and encourage their children to be the same. In this edition of Bahamian Heritage Series, we salute Mrs. Hazel Miller-Davis. The legacy continues.